So as we jump in, I would love to introduce Isabel. Isabel has been with Reiki Cafe University for about a year, and she started off as my apprentice. She took our Chakra Clairvoyance coaching certification in half the amount of time and really totally dove in. She is a nursing student, and one of my favorite little tidbits about Isabel, not only does she, channel and talk to the council, but also she really leans on her spirit guides to help her with her tests for nursing school. And let's just say she's an A student because she listens really well. So welcome, Isabel, to the call. I'm super excited to do this presentation with you.
Thank you, Christine. What a wonderful introduction. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I've done a couple Facebook Lives with you, but never a full Crowdcast webinar. So I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. That being said, I do want to introduce Christine. Like Christine said, I've been working with her for a little over a year, and not only has she been a fantastic mentor, she's also become one of my closest friends. And something that I absolutely adore about Christine is that no matter what topic we're talking about, she will always tell it like it is. I never have to worry about if there's something behind her words because she will always tell me, and I absolutely love how upfront she is with that. And she brings that into her practice as well. And that's one of the reasons I think that she is such an effective practitioner and coach, is because she's always right there with you. So thank you, Christine, for having me here.
Yeah, it's like facts, total facts. That is definitely one of the things that I'm good at. So we both have experience in the coaching realm. I really started my coaching sessions. Like, I thought I was doing coaching when I started coaching and realized later on, like, wow, coaching is a little different than I originally expected. So when I started my Reiki practice about a couple years into it, so maybe like 3-4 years ago, I considered myself as a chakra coach, meaning I was giving feedback to my Reiki clients on how to utilize chakra knowledge and wisdom to activate the chakras in between sessions. And so I consider myself a chakra coach, although what I was really doing was mentoring. What I was really doing was giving advice. I was being a consultant. I was being a chakra consultant. And one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is because we're going to really get into the nitty gritty of like what a coach really means. And because it wasn't until I took a 350-hour certification program that took about a year long to complete that I really fully understood the full power of coaching. And I know Isabel has similar experiences where, oftentimes, like, who was on the Reiki Raise Healing Summit and watched my presentation for that when Karen Craig interviewed me? Because part of it, like, you'll notice, like, I was talking about coaching, and in that presentation, she was like, oh, I've thought about doing that before. But she was thinking about apprenticeship. She was thinking about mentorship. And once it got actually describing coaching, she's like, oh. And so that O part is what we're going to really hone in on today. Isabel, do you want to share anything about your coaching background?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Christine mentioned at the beginning, I am currently a nursing student. I'm specializing in psych mental health, and that kind of morphed into, I actually grew up training to be a classical ballet dancer, and through the flow of the universe wound up in nursing school. And I always knew that I wanted to, as cliche as it is, I think we can all resonate with this, I want to help people aspect. And so I kind of got tumbled into all the different things all at once. I started nursing school. I began channeling, which is a whole different kind of facilitation. I found my own modality that isn't quite coaching, not quite mentoring, it's somewhere in the middle. And then I started with the Chakra Clairvoyant coaching and also started my own business all within the span of a year. So I kind of got what I say thrown into the deep end with everything. And so I started with this vast array of tools that I didn't really know which was which. And I feel like my especially in the past year, my journey has been figuring out which one's a hammer, which one's a screwdriver, which one should I use when, and how can they be integrated and mixed, which is part of the reason that I'm so excited about this webinar, because for me, Reiki is definitely a tool in my toolbox, and so is coaching. And I love seeing how the two can mix and blend and all of that.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a skill that you develop over time. Like, which hat are you wearing and when do you wear it and what's most appropriate? So we're going to dive right on in. And I want to cover what to expect, like what are you going to be walking away with by being part of this presentation. So we're going to talk about what is coaching, why coaching, like what's the purpose, what's the point of coaching? How can you mix Reiki with coaching and offer lasting transformation for your clients and more prosperous offers for you? We're going to talk about what coaching techniques are taught within our Chakra Clairvoyant coaching certification. And please stay to the end. I'm so glad I put this on the slide. Stay until the end, because at the end, if you stay all the way to the end, we're going to do a drawing for a chance to win a chakra analysis with myself. So that is a form of kind of like, it's more on the shamanic side than it really is on the coaching side, but it's definitely a fun modality to really hone in on what's going on in your own chakras. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And so, Isabel, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with like, what the heck is coaching?
Absolutely. So coaching for me is really about creating a container. I think that when I think of coaching, I think about the fact that the client always has their own answers. We're not there to give them answers as a mentor would, or help them kind of guide them along a path to a certain answer like a counselor would. And the difference between those, like Christine mentioned, we'll get into here in a little bit. But for me, coaching is really about creating that container where their client can realize that they already have the answers. So it's about, instead of giving them information, you're helping them, like this says, to create a container for that new information to be revealed, because clients don't come to you because they think you have the answer. They want you to have the answer. They want you to be able to tell them everything about their life. But I think we can all resonate with those experiences where we've gone to someone for advice and then we get really frustrated when they tell us what to do, because we don't want to hear what they think they should do. We want to hear what we should do. And so coaching for me is this really beautiful way of creating a safe and clear container for the client to come to their own conclusions and to come to their own ideas. So we don't have the information that goes inside the container of a session. The client has that information. Our job is not to give them that. It's to let them know that they already have it, and we just have to help them find it.
And I think that's a beautiful point, is that when a coaching client comes to me, oftentimes they're like, how can I fix this? And oftentimes as the coach, our job is to turn right back around and ask these really inquisitive, curious questions so that they can discover their own answers. Because just like Isabel said, when the client discovers their own answers, they're more likely to take empowered action. They're more likely to actually do the thing than if I just put on my consulting hat and go, the best way to get this done is to do X, Y, and Z. Well, if that's not an alignment for them, or part of that feels off, then they're just going to not do any of it. So really, by giving the power to the client, they're going to self-discover what their best approach to the situation is. And oftentimes they need help really revealing what their deepest truth is. And so we're going to take off the layers off of layers to get to the true core limiting belief, to get to the true like source of the issue, and then really help hold them to the future that they're hoping to realize. And so it's very futuristic looking.
Absolutely. I feel like as a coach, you stand almost as a mirror for the client. Like you said, you have to go through the layers of anxiety and limiting beliefs and past traumas and all of these really deep things that we do work through and we do help to release and reveal and rejuvenate and all this really deep work that we do have to do, but we don't do it by showing them what to do. We do it by holding up a mirror to them and being that objective perspective so that they can see themselves in a new way and they can come to understand themselves and the problems they're having, and also the solutions that they don't know that they already know.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why it's really important to realize what your scope of practice is between a coach, a counselor, and a consultant, as well as a Reiki practitioner. And so really understanding what's my role here, because I might be hired as a consultant, for example, and they're looking for my expert advice and the best course of action for them to achieve their goal. So it's a professional form of telling them what to do. And that's why, like, I might hire a tax consultant. I might hire a business consultant because I see them as an expert in their field, and I just want tell me the step-by-step process to get it done. And so that's the consultant role. Whereas a counselor role is really the in between a coach and a consultant. Counselors are trained to give advice, to really hold space for trauma, and to give advice in a way that leads them to a deeper introspection and realization, and really has a focus on emotions and the past. Oftentimes they're rehashing what's happened in the past. Not all counselors, there's so many different kinds of counseling, but oftentimes it's past focused. So this would be telling someone what to do until they're comfortable in telling themselves what to do. And then you have the coach. The coach's role is to ask these thought-provoking questions and create a safe place to strengthen the client's wisdom, thought processes, and directed action towards the future based on the client's self-identified agenda. So when a client comes in, I'm asking, if you could wave a magic wand, what would be one thing that you would love to walk away with in today's session? To feel calm, to really know what I want to do in my relationship. Like, they'll identify what they want to walk away with. And I love that piece. I really do. It's so different than Reiki, because you're asking for what is it? What's your top priority here? And so there's no professional form of telling them someone what to do. You're helping guide them on the self-discovery process and making empowered decisions.
Absolutely. That's something that I really love about coaching, is it really honors what I call the divinity of each person. It lets them stand as their own sovereign being and honors their choices and recognizes that it's their life and their path and their decisions, and no one else has that power to influence it without them acknowledging it and accepting it and choosing it. And so for me, coaching is really powerful because it honors that space, whereas a counselor or a consultant it's almost more of like a companionship. There's an equality there, a feeling of we both have power over this one person's decision. Not that any of these three roles are bad or wrong. They're all extremely useful and extremely beneficial in their place. But for me, coaching is really about holding that space and seeing that person as a whole being in themselves and helping them to realize it too. So you're really honoring them and their decision and letting them run the show, even if sometimes they need a little help along the way.
Absolutely. Okay. So oftentimes what the client tells you is the problem is not actually the problem. So if someone comes to you and says, I'm worried, I got it. I need an example. I'm scared to do a Facebook Live. That's what they think the problem is, but the role as a coach is to kind of start diving deeper. Well, what's under that? What's the fear under you're scared to do a live? Well, what's the fear under that? What's the fear under that? Well, we might get to these layers of, well, I'm afraid that I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be afraid that I'm going to be ridiculed. I'm afraid that people aren't going to like what I have to say. I'm afraid I'm going to be rejected. And we're getting all the way through all of these layers till we typically find something that's similar to, I'm not worthy of love, or another root core internal issue that really is the actual problem. And so as a coach, you learn to kind of start peeling away these layers. And that's why the role of the coach is not to be a friend. It's a role to really help hold space for them to dig deep and call them out in a very gentle and loving way of going, and what's under that? What's deeper than that? What is actually going on there? Because we always have these superficial problems that we think are the main problem until we start diving in and taking the layers off until we really reach the root of it. And that's when we can really bring that limiting belief to the surface. And when that limiting belief comes to the surface, we can say, is it true? Is that actually real? Is that a story you want to continue to subscribe to? Or are you ready to hit the unsubscribe button and let it go? And how can we do that to make sure that you recognize when that issue comes up again and again and again, that you're not resubscribing to it? And so that's more of the role of the coach.
Absolutely. This is hands down my favorite slide in this entire presentation, because it is just, if I could have you all walk away with one thing stuck in your head for the rest of your lives, it would be that the problem is not the problem. It is never about what we think it's about. And to me, it's the difference between putting on a Band-Aid and actually taking care of the wound. We're not here as coaches to make things pretty. We're not here to take them at surface level and just put the Band-Aid on top and tell them it'll be okay and give them kisses and love like a mother would. That's not our job. We are nurturing, but not in that way. We are here to nurture them in that we very gently, but we rip off the Band-Aid and we look at what's underneath and we clean out the wound and we help them to find what's underneath so that they can realize that they can heal on their own, that they don't have to stay stuck with that wound, that they don't have to have a scar, that they don't have to constantly be reminded of this pain because they have this gaping open wound that they're afraid to look at. We're there to help them have the courage and confidence to be able to look at that wound so that they can see what they're actually dealing with instead of the image that they're projecting to protect themselves from having to do that deep work. And so for me, like you said, a coach isn't the friend who's there to hold your hand and tell you everything's going to be okay. But the coach is the one who will stand next to you and hold your hand so that you have that person next to you who will give you the strength and courage to look inside and to look deeper and to go through the layers so that eventually you can come to understand that you are healed and you are okay. But we're not here to tell you that in the first place. We're here to get you to do that digging so that you can realize it yourself.
Absolutely. So that leads us to why coaching? Why is this a modality to add into your Reiki practice? And for me, it's that there's true transformation and commitment that comes out of coaching because of this guided self-discovery process. And so when the client is guided, when they're moving through all of these layers, they can really identify with finding those limiting beliefs, bringing them to the surface, and then making those choices so that they can have deep transformational change. They feel empowered to be like, I'm no longer willing to continue to put myself in this situation that makes me feel like crap. So whatever it is that you're giving them the tools to see their own truth. And that's why I think coaching is so empowering and so impactful for the long term.
Absolutely. I think I love what you said about that empowering aspect of coaching, because for me, I'm always reminded of this quote from Albert Einstein. He said that a problem can never be solved at the same level of consciousness at which it was created. And I think for me, I've personally gone through many different forms of therapy, many different coaching modalities in my own personal journey. And I've seen that process of, especially in talk therapy, where you're talking through it and you're working through it. And it's a very different energy than a coaching session where you are in a way held accountable for what you're experiencing and you are asked to do the work. It's not someone else doing the work for you, but they're helping to guide you and create that container so that you can do the work. And for me, that quote about the problem that can never be solved at the same level of consciousness at which it was created is really an embodiment of coaching. Because when you come in with a coach, you sit down with someone who has a different perspective, who can help raise you up to that level of consciousness so that you can see the problem that you're struggling with in a new light and in a new way, so that you yourself are raised up and you can find the problems within yourself. So it's not that we're giving you the answer, it's that we're raising you up, we're empowering you to find those answers within yourself.
Totally. And, you know, I love a good coaching session. At the very end of the session, they'll ask, what's one thing you can do right now to put all of what we've brought to the surface into motion? What can you do right after this call? And it just goes to show that there is this future orientation, that we're getting the ball rolling, that it's active, and that I know the next time I get on a call with my coach, she's going to ask me, so did you do the thing? So there's that piece of accountability there. So yes, it's future oriented to help you achieve goals that you have created together, and provides that accountability to help you. So you're doing the work, you're doing the discovery process, you're taking the layers off of limiting beliefs so that you can really shift and change your future and really shift and change your mindset. But to get to the mindset piece, we've got to do some of this underlying healing work like that I typically find down in sacral chakra, which is why oftentimes we get to, you know, the inner child work and really nurturing that inner child relationship to help us truly discover who we are and where those limiting beliefs are coming from. And
absolutely.
So,
yeah, I feel like one of my favorite things on this slide is that it provides accountability, because I think especially all of us here as Reiki practitioners, we had that 21 days of self-healing. And I see so many wonderful posts in the Reiki Cafe community Facebook group asking for accountability buddies, because we all know the power of having someone who's going to hold you accountable for, did you do the work? Did you do your Reiki? Or in this case, did you do the exercise we set for you this week? Did you take that firm step forward in your own healing journey? Did you take back the reins and take back your power and see what you can do in your own life and in your own journey? And that's one of my favorite things about coaching is, again, it's not just someone who's there to sit with you for the hour and then let you go after looking back at the past. It's someone who's there to actively sit with you in that session and look toward the future and say, what can we do now to get you where you want to go? And what steps can we give you so that you're actively involved in this process? Because then it keeps the motivation going, it keeps their confidence growing, because they have their power back and they don't feel like they're stuck in that victim mode anymore.
And you know, the other cool thing about coaching is that as the practitioner, as the coach, you don't need expertise in any single thing. Like, you're not consulting them, you're coaching them, you're getting them to dig deep and find their own answers. So you don't need to be an expert in business. You don't need to be an expert in how to write a book. You don't need to be an expert in even Reiki, you know? And so I've had a coaching client where literally her main reason for coming to me was because she couldn't complete tasks. She would get things to 90% and she was like, I am going to have serious complications in my life if I can't complete things, whether that be get married or finish the book or finish my assignments on my desk. And so that's, you know, one of the reasons why she came to me. And so we could do these really deep, powerful sessions to really kind of discover and understand why this pattern was happening. And when she could understand why the pattern was happening, she could make a new choice. And knowing that I was going to show up every single week with, hey, did you get it done? really helped her make some serious progress. And she had some serious shifts in her coaching time, in the fact that she was like, well, I'm setting out to like complete this thing. Well, in that process of moving forward, she made some major discoveries in her work so that it could be even grander than she ever had possibly dreamed. And so it was like such a huge success just to have that person to be with her, to help her understand where that pattern was coming from and to overcome it completely and have it be done, so that it's no longer showing up in her life. It's no longer a self-sabotaging behavior. And that's the power of coaching. And for me, I didn't have to be an area of expertise. She was actually a scientist, and I didn't need to know any of the science. And it wasn't like she was super woo-woo. Like, it was not that type of coaching session, and it was phenomenal. And so some of the cool things that you can do with coaching is that, yes, you can have a really beautiful one and done single session, or you can develop packages and programs that really hold space for your client to do the work over a set period of time. So like, for example, my coaching program that I offer individuals is 3 months, because I find that 3 months and meeting with someone 2-3 times a month can really allow them to have that container to do the deep work and make those transformational shifts in their life. And so because you're looking at supporting someone for 3 months, not only are they going to have these really powerful transformative shifts, but it's also more prosperous for you, and they trust you to hold that container for a longer period of time. And yes, I do offer Reiki sessions in with my packages and programs, as well as other modalities where it fits. So if someone comes to me and they're absolutely drained, they have no emotional capacity to do the work, I'm like, well, it sounds like you just need an energy boost. Maybe today is a good day to do some Reiki. And that's totally fine. So when we develop out these programs and offers, then you're not only making a stronger and more empowering impact on the client, but you're also creating a more prosperous life and career for yourself.
Absolutely. Coaching is not a one size fits all kind of modality. There are so many different techniques and tricks, but also ways of producing the same technique for each individual person that really plays to what they're experiencing. It's a tailored experience for that person. And it's not just a set in stone, one and done, this is how we do it and we're good kind of modality. It's something that's really fluid and individual and unique for each session. And that's something that I love about coaching, because like you said, it can either be a single session where it's an hour and a half long and the person goes out feeling like, wow, yeah, you know what, there has been a shift. Or it can be a 3-month program where you're incorporating other modalities and you're seeing this client regularly and you're developing that sense of rapport with your client and developing that trusting relationship so that you can go even deeper. And it allows you to really tailor your practice, whether you incorporate Reiki or not. But I think especially if you incorporate Reiki, it allows you to tailor that experience for the client that you're working with at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Super cool. So how do we do this thing? How can we mix Reiki and coaching to have your clients have lasting transformation and more prosperous offers for you? How can we really incorporate this with those skill sets that you already have? And one of the big things that I like to cover in our coaching section of the Chakra Clairvoyant coaching certification is the logical levels of change. When we really understand where change is effective and at what level we need to focus on, then we can have a cascading effect. So if I focus on their behavior, so down here at number 2, at the lower bottom of the pyramid, if I'm focusing on their behavior and really just going, okay, you're going to get up every day and you're going to do those 10 squats and you're going to do 10 jumping jacks and you're going to do these things, you're going to eat this food, and I'm just focusing on their behavior, but their identity is not in correlation with that. If it's not resonating, then it's not going to be effective. And so I love the way coaches really hone in at the top. We're talking about purpose. What for? Why are you doing this? Who are you? How can you identify with the person who has the belief that's going to have those behavioral changes? So if I'm working with someone around eating habits, for example, then I'm going to talk to them about how can they identify as a healthy person? What would the healthy person do? And is that in dissonance to who they are? Or is it resonating? And so we really look at how the mind works so that people can incorporate change and actually stick with it. Because oftentimes you have mindset coaches, and mindset coaches really work on this behavioral change. And what happens is they can last for 2-3 weeks and then they fall off because they're not working on the purpose. They're not working on the identity level. They're not working on their beliefs and values, because when we work at those top 3, then we have a cascade down. Your house looks different. Your behavior looks different. You're willing to go learn and new capabilities to know how to do the thing so that it matches the new identity that you've taken on. And that's really how you create this lasting transformation, because we work on these upper levels.
Absolutely. And I think it ties in really beautifully with Reiki, because we all know the impact that a client's energy has on their life. Whether you do Reiki on the chakras, or you do the hand positions, or you do something else entirely, we all as Reiki practitioners are really deeply aware of how your energy affects both you as a person and your life in general. And so when we look at combining coaching and combining Reiki, Reiki takes the energetic aspect of that person and it influences it and it clears it and it helps to release, like we all know. But coaching focuses on those internal, almost more mental mind aspects of it, of your identity, of how you think about your life. And from there, when you combine that mental side, that mind aspect, and the energy or the feeling aspect, and you combine those two, then it creates a cascade through which your entire life is going to change, because you've changed these two really key elements of your being. You've changed your thoughts and you've changed your feelings. And when you put those together, your life can have no choice but to change, because you as a person or your client as a being has changed by combining these two modalities and creating that top-down cascade.
Yeah, it's totally like vibrational. So when we are vibrating at the level of who we want to be, who is that identity, then you're going to radiate that outwards. And so I love mixing like the coaching with the spiritual aspect, so to really fundamentally shift and change clients. And so some of those ideas come into this into play as well.
Absolutely.
So we want to kind of go over the Chakra Clairvoyant Coaching Certification and what all is included for the techniques that are taught within the program. So if you guys don't know, the Chakra Clairvoyant Coaching Certification is a 7-month program that the Reiki Cafe University offers. And we currently are open for enrollment right now, and classes start January 24th. Right now we're an early bird. And so that's why we're chatting it up and letting people know what's all included. The second half of the program focuses on coaching. And so part of what's included, all of these modalities listed here or techniques listed here, I should say, are included in the certification. So we teach you not only how to identify where chakra weaknesses and strengths are throughout the program, but you learn how to hone in when someone's talking to you, really listen to them and go, what chakra is this correlating with? What is this speaking to? If I had to take the emotional energy of what they're saying and put it to a chakra. And when we understand what chakra is going on, then we can look to inquisitive questionings, getting curious and exploring from that chakra orientation. And by knowing where they're at energetically, like if they're really stuck in their solar plexus and all they can talk about is their low self-esteem and their lack of this and their lack of that and how they don't have friends, like you can kind of speak to that and go, well, is that true? And you can have questioning that will really enforce the healing of that chakra. So that can be really empowering. We also have the life balance wheel here shown in the diagram to the left. And this is another modality of just letting clients really identify with the life balance wheel on if they can rate their level from 0 to 10 on all of these different areas of the life balance wheel, whether that's fun and play and sexuality and physical environment, all of the different areas of life, then we can kind of bring this broader awareness going, look, just because your relationship right now isn't a 10, the rest of your life is working out really well. And it can help them see and really identify with oh, maybe things are going better than I thought, or this is an area over here that I've been lacking and I've forgotten about and I really want to focus on. So it helps, the diagram itself helps the client really see where they're at and where they want to go.
Absolutely. And then we also teach one of my favorites, which is embodying metaphors. And I love this one because it seems from the outside so absurd, but it's one of, I found, the most effective. And what you do is you have them take this problem that they're struggling with, or this emotion that they're working through, or a situation in their past, and you have them create a metaphor in their head. For example, one of my clients that I worked with came up with a cantaloupe. And it was all about like the texture of the outside and how on the inside it was soft and squishy and juicy, and it was just oozing everywhere, and really beautiful imagery so that they can create an image that encapsulates what they're struggling with, and they can almost view it outside of them, because so often people internalize their struggles and they get stuck in them because all they can do is feel them and think about them. So with embodying metaphors, you learn how to walk your client through a process so that they can view their problem as external, and then they can get that objective perspective so that they can start to undo it and they can start to work through it from a new place. Again, going back to the problem can't be solved at that same level of consciousness. It creates a new perspective for them to see their problem so that they can work through it and see it from the outside. And then we also have this amazing technique, the 5D chakra upgrade. And this really ties in everything that you learn throughout the rest of the program about the chakras and how they work and clearing out that energy. And it really brings your chakras and your energy as a whole to a new level. And so it ties in, like we were talking about earlier, that energetic aspect of your life and how your life will follow your energy. And so 5D chakra upgrades are really teaching you how to help your client clear and reset on an energetic blueprint level of bringing their chakras up to a whole new level.
I love it. And it's one of my favorites because we're really getting a snapshot of like where the client is now and where they want to be. So then once again, we're future oriented. We're going, well, just because we're here now doesn't mean we can't get to where we want to be. And so there's a meditative process to kind of really up level their chakras and really see themselves in that future timeline. And I really want to jump over to future tracking because that's very similar too, when we can foresee into the future and really hone in on what that vision of our life in the future is going to be that we would love to create. If we could wave a magical wand, how would you like your life to look like in 6 months from now? Or if you're doing a package 3 months from now, so they can really hone in on their goals, really getting into the viewpoints of like, are you envisioning that future from your own eyes or from outside, like a security camera, and making sure that it's really feeling ultra potent. And so you're learning these meditative techniques to really fully bring them into that space. And then I seal it all up in this Reiki love and light and lock it into their timeline. And so it can be really empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to share a quick story about that future tracking, because this is something that we do both as a group, as the students in the Chakra Clairvoyance coaching certification, and it's also something you learn how to do for your clients. But we had a really powerful session where we did a guided meditation about this, and we were asked to see what was going to happen 6 months into the future. And I actually just recently hit that 6-month mark from the time that we had done the meditation, and I was looking back at my notes and realizing that everything that had come up in that future tracking meditation had actually come up to pass in my own life, which is a really cool experience when you're able to see that in your own life, because then you know that it will work for your clients. And that's also something where we can look at something like belief bridging, because this is one of my favorites, because I think we've all had this experience where we stand in front of the mirror and we say the positive affirmations and they just feel like we're lying to ourselves and they don't feel good. And we end up walking away feeling more frustrated because we don't feel abundant. We don't feel like we're enough. We feel like there's a huge gap there. And so what belief bridging does is it meets you where you're at with whatever belief you do have, whether it is I'm not worthy or there's never enough or whatever belief you're holding on to in this moment. And it does look at the other side of the bridge and it says, what's the opposite of that? There is always enough. I am abundant, et cetera, et cetera. And then it figures out, how can we get you to walk from point A to point B? How can we make a bridge between these beliefs so that you're not just hopping from one side to the other and left feeling like you fell short because you didn't believe that there is abundance or that you are enough or whatever your goal is. We help you walk through, and you learn how to teach your clients how to walk through from one belief to another.
Absolutely. And then we have SMART goals. And SMART goals are really a way to identify simple, measurable goals that are attainable. And I'm sure someone in this room has done SMART goals before. It's very, very common. And our own Reiki Cafe University spin on it is very much more feminine. It's softer. It's less analytical in the fact that we bring some of that future tracking into it. We bring some of this future forecasting into it so that you can really feel into, this is where I'm at, and this is how I'm going to come up with processes to get to the goal, but also, and make it totally measurable, but also kind of bring in that meditative aspect so that it feels good. It feels good. Like, how many people have done a goals orientated like session? Like, I'm one of those people, like, if I just had to write down my goals, it's not going to hit me on an emotional chord where I want to achieve it. I'm just not that person. But you wrap it in Reiki love and light, you wrap it in a bubble, you put it in the future. And then I'm like, yeah, now I'm motivated. Now I'm going to get the thing done. So you learn how to take a goals session. And maybe that's what you do at the beginning of your 3-month coaching program, is that you have this goal session and it feels juicy and it feels future oriented and it feels like it's wrapped up in Reiki. And then it's like every week, you know what to check in with your client about. How are you achieving those goals? Are you hitting those process goals? What can I do to support you to make sure that you're on track? And so SMART goals it can feel real fundamental, foundational, and that's important. But when you give it this like love and light Reiki wrap, it feels so much more achievable, especially from a Reiki practitioner point of view. If we're doing Reiki also, how can we bring that so that we're doing goals work, but we're doing it in a Reiki love, light, compassionate way?
Absolutely. I love SMART goals as well because I learned them in the certification. And as a nursing student, I was doing clinical rounds one day and we create what's called care plans. And for those of you who are like me and really vibe with that scientific, analytic, just really exciting, more mental aspect of things, I was so excited to see that part of the care plans that nurses use in a hospital setting to care for their clients are SMART goals. We create these outcomes based on the SMART methodology, making sure that they're specific, that they're measurable, they're attainable, they're realistic, they're timely, all of these things, so that we can create an outcome that will happen, so that we know that the outcomes we want for our patients, and in this case our clients, will come to pass because we've created a goal that's realistic. And one thing that I love about SMART goals is it works so beautifully with all of these other modalities that we're looking at here, but especially this one at the end here, chakra analysis, because sometimes when we look at goals, one of the main quote unquote problems that we'll have with clients is they don't know what their goal is. And often they don't know what their goal is. Again, going back to the problem is not the problem, because they're afraid to realize what their problem is. And so chakra analysis is a really beautiful way to almost bypass that conscious filter that the client has put on, that wall that they've built up so that they can't see their problems. And we go deep and we go in through the subconscious mind. Christine calls this the backdoor approach to healing. And we learned several different methods in this certification course on how to analyze the chakras, either through muscle testing or, like at the beginning, questioning and looking at how they're talking and identifying that with a chakra. And so then we take away that wall. We find a way to bypass that filter that they might have so that we can get to what's the root of their problem. What is the energy? Where in their body is this stored? Which chakra is this affecting? Because once you know the problem, then you can figure out, okay, what's the solution? But you have to be able to identify that problem in order to be able to walk toward a solution. And so chakra analysis is one of the best ways, I think, to do this problem identification, because it lets you bypass the stories that we tell ourselves and the stories that our clients tell themselves, that problem that they put up front that's not actually the problem. It lets us bypass that and just look at their energy and that really pure blueprint of what's happening in their being so that we can build from there.
Absolutely. And then we have inner child support. And what I mean by that is oftentimes when these limiting beliefs come to the surface using some of these other modalities, we realize that that limiting belief was given to us on a subconscious level when we were a child, during that time between the first 7 years of life, typically. And when we can hone in and nurture the inner child. So this isn't going back to the trauma, that we're not going to the past. We're going within to find our child, our inner child, and visiting them in a shamanic way and a love and light way and a supportive way to really help them be able to come alive and really release all of their fears. And so this can definitely mixes in with our shamanic component of the Chakra Clairvoyance coaching certification, and really kind of can go along with wherever it shows up. You have yet another tool in your toolbox to go, okay, sounds like we're working on sacral chakra today. We're working on that fun and play aspect today from the life balance wheel. And I think we need to bring in the inner child to really do this deeper work. And so you can totally pick and choose and have your toolbox for your client, whether Reiki is on this list too, or some other shamanic techniques and guided meditations that you learn as part of the Chakra Clairvoyant coaching certification. You're given all of these tools so that you can sit down with the client and identify, oh, I want to go to embody metaphors today. This is going to be really empowering because this emotion is totally overwhelming them. And that's where I want to go. And so you can start learning to figure out how to support your client in a really transformative way so that they can do the deep inner healing work. And then there's always, I'm always sprinkling in the Reiki wherever I can to really empower the session. So before we move on, I would love to see if we have any questions from the group. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. There we go. Hi, everyone. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, it looks like April just finished her 21-day chakra retreat. That's fantastic. I love it. So is there any questions before we continue? Because remember, if you stay to the end, then we have our drawing. So you definitely want to stay in the session. But if we don't have questions, we'd love to spend just 5 minutes showing you the Chakra Clairvoyant coaching sales page. And so if you want to look this up yourself, there's a button right here on the bottom that says Become a Chakra Clairvoyant Coach. And that is going to give you all of the information. This is a by application only certification program, meaning, hold on, tech, hello. Can you see that okay? Is it showing up?
I'm seeing it, Christine, yeah.
Perfect. So this is a 7-month program that the second half focuses on the coaching. And the reason being is because we really want to develop that clairvoyance in the first 3.5 months and really do the own internal self-healing work. So the first 3.5 months, the first 3.5 chakras, so we get midway through heart in the first half of the program, is all based on shamanic Reiki practitioner training. So you're learning how to heal your own inner child. You're learning how to identify and really release limiting beliefs that you have held on to within your own self. You're learning how to shamanic journey and build that intuition and confidence and clairvoyance so that when we move into the coaching aspect, that energy, that power behind the scene, the clear scene, is going to show up for you in the coaching portion. So this is a real in-depth program. This isn't a light little thing. It's typically 2 to 4 hours a week. And this is really about revealing your higher self, really calling your higher self to come out from under that veil and really show up in your full power. And that's really the beauty of this program. And so we have 4 days left for early bird sale prices. So if you are interested, if you love the presentation tonight, you know that you're interested in becoming a coach, please go ahead and book your call with me. That's just a 15-minute discovery call, a connect call to make sure I'm answering any of your questions, to make sure that it's a good vibe, a good fit, like what you're struggling with and what you're hoping for is actually included in the program, those type of questions.
Speaking of questions, Christine, Jen wants to know, just kind of recap, how many hours a week this commitment will take?
Yeah, it's typically between 2 to 4 hours a week. And the reason being is because we really believe in the power of embodiment. And so we want you to fully experience all of the modalities, all of the techniques that you're training in, whether that's shamanic journey, whether that's the coaching techniques. And so the calls are really important. And so we have a call schedule that's a little bit crazy because we have some people who can only do evenings, and we have some people who can only do mornings, and we have some people who live on the other side of the world, and all of it's welcome. And so we have multiple calls on the schedule because ideally you're coming to at least one call a week. So you don't need to attend everything, but you need to make time to watch the training videos, to come to at least one call a week, to look through the workbook, to do the journaling exercise, to do this deep transformation within yourself so that you can really provide and hold space in an empowering way as a coach for the second half of the program. So this is really a deep dive into chakras. It's a deep dive into clairvoyancy, and it's a deep dive into coaching. So it's very comprehensive. So yes, I would expect, to commit to 2 to 4 hours a week. Yeah. And so this is really about really stepping into your confidence, really letting go of that self-doubt, any anxiety, letting go of your past traumas, easing some of those old wounds that you have been carrying around to become a masterful practitioner, because it will change the way you show up. And when you change the way you show up by embodying a masterful practitioner, you're going to approach gaining new clients differently. You're going to approach your life differently. You're going to reorganize the way you handle time differently. You no longer will you be a victim of life circumstances. You will be the one in control and the one in power. And so when you are fully invested in your healing journey, you heal those wounds, you ditch those limiting beliefs, you let go of anxieties, and you step into your higher self. So I know, like you, I tried all the things. I did all of the things. I did the yoga, I did the meditation, I did the therapy. I try to eat well. And sometimes it just feels like you're wearing a mask. And until I did the shamanic piece, until I healed those limiting beliefs, until I really stepped in fully as a coach, that's when I began to embody a life of healthy habits and well-being practices that weren't in dissonance. I was letting go of the anxiety and the stress and letting go of my chronic health stuff. Who's here with the chronic health stuff? I was there. I was definitely there. And so you're really fundamentally shifting and changing through the program. I think we have a really high rate of students who go through the program and are like, I'm healthier. I feel better in my body. I don't have to take my medication anymore. I'm sleeping better. Because as you go through the program to become a masterful practitioner, you're healing yourself. And so you're letting go of that frustrating and exhausting work to do, because you're doing it on a deeper level. You're doing it more on a fundamental, biological, subconscious level. And so I know that you're not alone. And if I can incorporate these practices in my life, so can you. So let me reassure you, you're not alone. You are fully capable of healing and becoming a masterful practitioner that you're striving to be. And the missing piece to this happiness equation, to this life of peace, is healing the subconscious mind. And so in order to manifest the life of your dreams, you have to reach in and clear out the subconscious limiting beliefs and patterns that you're holding on to. and to really step into your highest potential. Your higher self is calling you to step out from under that veil, and the chakras are the key. And so here we go. The Chakra Clairvoyant Coaching Certification is your ticket to doing that. So the first half of the program is the Shamanic Reiki Practitioner training. The second half of the program is the coaching training of the program. And every single month, we have a focus on one chakra. So I highly recommend that you come to this page, listen to the testimonials that have been shared on the page. We have, I think, 6 total. And there's so much included. And that's why I highly recommend that everyone who is interested to book a call with me so that I can answer any individual questions. I'm happy to do general questions here, but any individual questions, I'm happy to do that. One of the reasons why I paused here is because I also truly believe that if you're going to invest in a 7-month program, that you should be walking away with a better business. And so you also get business training throughout the course. We have 2 calls a month to provide business support, to help develop those prosperous offers, to develop those programs, to build your business, to do the branding work so that you can gain that momentum in your business while you go through the program and hopefully build the practice of your dreams, create that prosperity. And therefore, if you're on a monthly payment plan, you're creating the income flow to pay for the certification. So many times clients will do a monthly payment plan, and they'll take the information that I'm teaching them, the business trainings that I'm offering, they turn around and they absolutely embody it and go live it out, and they are making the money. I have a student right now who signed up in the summer, and she was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I don't even have a practice yet. And I'm like, it's going to happen. If you feel the divine calling, come. I'm going to take that leap of faith with you and do the work, make the shifts, whether that's interpersonal or whether that's in your business, and watch things start showing up. She's almost paid for the course in full, and she's only been on her payment plan for 6 months. So I know that if she can do it and other students can do it, you can do it too.
Absolutely. And Ray has a question about where she can book a call. So if at the bottom of your screen right now, you should be seeing a green glowing button that says Become a Chakra Clairvoyance Coach. If you click on that, it'll take you to this beautiful sales page that we have here. And there are a bunch of buttons scattered throughout that say Book a Connect Call. There's one right here, this purple button. If you click on that, it'll take you to Christine's scheduling page, and then you can book a time to talk with her and make sure that this program is a fit for you, because we want to bring you into a place where you resonate and you can thrive and transform and create those lasting changes that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a couple of the things that you should be aware of, this is really for Reiki practitioners. If you are not yet a Reiki practitioner, talk to me. There's still time to get you trained up to a point where I would feel comfortable with you taking the program. We're in early bird right now so that you can get a discount, $555 discount if you sign up this week. There are different payment plans available. We have up to a 12-month payment plan so that you can start right away. And that's affordable for you, knowing that you're going to make this drastic expansive life change for your spiritual practice. And know that there's Isabel and I are both a part of the program. I'm definitely like the lead in the program. The training videos the majority of them are mine. And I have a strong presence, but I do have Isabel leading calls as well, which is why she's on the call tonight. Her main focus is on the coaching practitioner part of the program. And so I wanted to definitely let you guys be introduced to her voice, her flavor, the way that she supports, but she's an excellent transformation guide as well. And we only have 15 spots available. So this is for a small, intimate group of practitioners who are committed and ready to make a big shift in their practice and really, really start making the impact that you want to be making in the world.